Hey, what's going on, guys? Vsauce Michael here. I wanted to make this video just basically talking about why I decided to go back to school after dropping out for like 3 years. So I went back to school last year around that time. Now before then, I was dropped out for like 3 years. So to give like a little bit of insight on why I even went back, I think it's important to kind of like talk about what led me to dropping out in the first place. I was basically involved in a lot of bad schooling. Basically, these teachers never knew what to do with me. They never knew how to teach me. I basically went to school here in America, and I went to school in Lebanon. And through my transition between both schooling systems, evidently I was risen up 2 years above my age. So technically, I graduated high school when I was like 15 and a half or something like that, which is weird. So I was basically thrown into something that I wasn't supposed to be in, unfortunately. That's crazy now that I think about it. Growing up, my earliest memory of like schooling or learning, if I should say, just the concept of learning, was basically my mom yelling at me that I'm not understanding how to read English, pretty much. I remember seeing her on the floor crying and saying that I'm not getting this and all that stuff, and it made me wonder like why is she crying? It's my fault that I'm not getting it. So that was a good introduction, sarcasm by the way, to the concept of learning. After that, I remember my mom got us a tutor, and this tutor stuck with us for like 7 years, I'd say. And man, she was bad. She was very bad. See, my mom was very abusive with the words. She was even abusive physically, with like a belt if I wasn't understanding something. This teacher was very similar. I have memories where she would point at my head and say I'm stupid. Like she would literally physically poke me and say I'm stupid. I'm not getting this on purpose. I don't want to understand all that stuff, which was a lot, you know. That's a big thing I've realized with a lot of teachers, especially of the older generation, where they essentially feel like just because the kid isn't getting it, they don't want to get it. You know, it's really stupid. But that was the reality for me for the last few years. So while this tutor was doing this to me, the school life in and of itself in Lebanon or in the Middle East, whatever, was very competitive. You know, everyone made it to be a competitive scene as opposed to a group learning scene. It's almost like you were rewarded if you got the right answer, or if you got the wrong answer, you were shunned. You weren't really given extra hours to look after the class or to talk over something after the class. It was always just, okay, he either got it or he didn't get it. Nowadays, with technology, I've realized it's kind of different now, especially because you can email teachers now and all that fun jazz, which is pretty interesting. I'd say that's pretty cool. Plus one to the internet, I suppose. But anyways, I went back to America, and same like after the Lebanon stuff, and I was basically 13 when I was in grade 10 or something, and everyone was bigger than me and all that stuff. I was hornier than them because, you know, puberty. But I was just out of place, you know. I was out of place. There wasn't much focus on learning. There was more of a focus on competing for fitting in. So I never really learned much there. One thing that really bothered me was my mom always spoke on my behalf. During all my registrations, during everything, I was never given insight on what everything was. So you could say it was a mix of both upbringing and just pure upbringing for the most part. We could group it under one category, I suppose. So after all that fun jazz, I decided. Well, I didn't even decide, I should say. I was kind of forced to college. You know, everyone was asking, "Oh, what college are you gonna go to?" I didn't know the names of any colleges in my area. Senior year was a very hard year for me. Like it was, I'd say it was the most anxious I was an entire semester or an entire year of high school. It was the most anxiety ridden because everyone looked like they knew what they were doing, and here I am just playing RuneScape 24/7. But at least I was streaming, and that was something that I wanted to do, and I made videos and stuff, so that was cool. That kept me a little sane. I was like, oh, cool. I have something that's mine. Anyways, college went around, same shit. My mom registered for me. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. No one explained anything to me. All I was told was I didn't want to learn. And then at this point, I ended up becoming what they said. I don't want to learn. I simply, if this is the game, I don't want to learn anymore. If this is how things are done, I don't want to learn anymore. I remember one of the classes in college that led me to drop out of college was this English class that basically all the kids in didn't know how to speak English, but I was the only one who had good English. And the teacher was like, "Are you sure you're supposed to be in this class?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then I don't know. I don't know why I was in that class, but I failed that class. And the teacher came up to me and she was like, "Why are you in college?" I was like, "I don't know." She was like, "You should probably not go to college if this is what's going to happen." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And shortly after, I dropped out. I had a lot of abusive comments when I dropped out from my mom. A lot of cruel things said to me. The same stuff that was said to me as a kid, but this time it was actually true. You know, when I was a kid, it wasn't true. I wanted to understand. Like, who would want in the right mind to sit there and get fucked in the head 24/7? So there's that. So, I dropped out. All that stuff happened. And then I spent a year just streaming and making videos. And that was cool. I felt like this is what I was supposed to do. I was like, yeah, this, you know what? School is for those people. This is where I belong, all along. Eventually, my stream died out, and eventually, I got bullied on the internet. A lot of rude people on the internet started coming after me and stuff, and you could tell who your real friends were, and who are not, and who were like very toxic to you, etc., etc. And essentially, I just stopped streaming. I was like, fuck this. Then I got my first job working fast food. Stayed in that for 2 years. That was around the time I picked up smoking weed constantly. I smoked weed before that, but I smoked weed heavily in those times. And my days consisted of working 10 plus hours for $9.25 an hour. That's without tax, by the way. And then coming back home, it would be get high in the morning, work, get high on break, work, get high after work, go to 7-Eleven, get a big bag of Ruffles, get a white can Monster, a giant king-size Kit Kat, and a bag of Sour Patch Kids. And I did that for, I think, 6 months. Actually, no, I did that for a year and a half in my entire 2 years of working at fast food. During the end of that, I ended up moving out of my mom's house because it got too much. There was a lot of I have a lot of you could call it PTSD from living there with the arguments my mom and my brother would have, and that's another thing. So I moved out. I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm gonna start making music now, because by then I was like experimenting with singing and all that stuff. And then after that, I fell down into a very deep depression after I moved out. Yeah, it was very bad. It was a lot. It definitely was a lot. After all that, I won't get into the story of that. Maybe another time. But essentially, it was very bad. So I ended up calling up my uncle. I'm like, "Yo, can you send me back to Lebanon for like a month or two so I could get away from everything?" He was like, "All right." So I went to Lebanon, and it changed a lot for me when I went there. I got to see how people lived, because my whole life was a box. My whole life was literally a box. I was sheltered from everything. I was distracted by just entertainment and just getting caught up with like what I thought reality for me was supposed to be. It was an eye-opening experience when I went back to Lebanon for sure. So that happened, and then when I came back, I was like, all right, I can't work fast food again. I need to figure out something. You know, I need to figure out something. And evidently, I found out how I could go to school without actually going to school, and I was going to a trade school. And this time it was for HVAC, which is fixing heating and cooling devices. Little to sum it up, it was a waste. Not really a waste because of what happened afterwards, but the whole process minus 10K in student loans. Let's just say that for sure. It was pretty AIDS. Definitely. There wasn't teaching. You know, the class consisted of walking in, or the classes consisted of walking in, opening up Google, looking up the answers online, and they were all there. Like, they were just copied from Google. And even the final exam, I was able to do that. So it taught me nothing about learning. Actually, it did. It taught me that this isn't what learning is, for the most part. So I ended up getting that degree, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to Arizona. Fuck this. I'm gonna go. This was my plan. I was like, all right, I'm going to Arizona. I have my laptop to make music on, and then boom, easy clap. Fuck me, right? I went to Arizona. I got an apartment for 6 months. I stepped in that apartment for a total of 5 minutes. I have a panic attack, a breakdown, and I was gonna kill myself because fuck this. So after that fun fiasco, I ended up going to the registration office the same day, and I was like, I need to leave. I need to get out of here, please. I'm begging. So that little, let's just say minus 4K on that 1 day trip, 3.4K, whatever, somewhere around that. So that was cool. So I came back. I was like, okay, now what? Now what? What am I gonna do now? Then I thought a little bit. I'm like, what am I really interested in? What do I really want? What do I really like? In terms of school, I figured that the music and all that stuff is more fun when it's pure, when I want to do it, not when I'm trying to get something out of it. So evidently I just stopped making music altogether because I realized it's not. The only time I ever dabble in music is when I feel like it at that point. And whenever I feel like I want to dabble in music just for the sake of like, oh, I want people to think I'm this fucking guy who's so cool and knows how to fucking talk in music. No. I don't think that's the right way for me to continue music at all. So after all that, I thought a little bit. I'm like, what really interested me while I was in school? And all my life, when I used to get high, like when I would get high, I'd always think about like the human body and all that stuff. I literally would always like think about the human body and all that stuff, like since I was a kid. And so I was like, huh, well, doctors do stuff with that. And I was like, huh. Like I started laughing. I was like, damn, maybe I can't be a doctor. Look at me. Look at me. I can't be a doctor. I can't do what doctors do. But it was interesting. I've been in and out of a lot of doctors in my life, and I realized that a lot of them are just regular human beings who just learned something. And the concept of learning first struck me when I worked in fast food. Basically, I didn't know how to do anything. It was the first time I was ever pushed to do something that's not RuneScape, that's not games as well. Essentially, and that was basically taking orders on the fucking little speaker and putting it into the computer. And I learned that in like a day or two. I was like, I actually learned that. So I was like, huh, before I couldn't do that. But now I did that. this means I actually learned, and I'm capable of learning. And it was weird. It was very weird because all my life I was told I wasn't. All my life I was told I wasn't capable of learning. I was told that learning isn't for me. I get really sad when I think about that because, fast food taught me a lot of shitty things, but it taught me that I'm actually capable of learning. That really it gets me. It gets me a lot for sure. That a kid like me needed guidance, and he was shunned. Fast forward, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be alive, if I'm gonna live with depression 24/7, I thought I might as well give it a shot since I'm breathing, since I'm moving. Fast forward, that's what I'm doing now, and I've learned a lot of things here as well. I've seen the other side of the coin here now, where there's a burden placed on people who actually go out of the way to learn. So when I was a kid, I learned that, if you're not getting something and your grades are bad, teachers are like, all right, fuck this. Which, to be fair, I can't really blame them, because if a kid doesn't want to, learn, or doesn't know how to learn, or doesn't know what the concept of learning is, they're not going to want to learn. So in reality, I didn't want to learn, even though I wanted to, but in reality, I didn't want to. It's a weird thing, It takes a little bit of mental gymnastics to go around that. Kids even who are high performances and stuff have a certain bar on in some teachers' minds. So I've learned that in my first year of going back, I was like, maybe I should figure out my own way of dealing with school, of learning. Because what is school, School is just a bunch of information that was passed down throughout the years, just given to you. And sometimes it's given poorly, to which you have to go out of your way and, make an effort to figure that out. And it's that kind of process that wasn't taught to me growing up. So yeah, that's kind of what led me back to go back. I'm just doing that stuff for now. My hope is to, actually, I don't even want to say my hope is to. I try not to have hopes. I try to have a baseline of what would be cool to do, but ultimately, it's like, I wanna see where this goes. I wanna see where this goes, and I've seen a lot of, don't get me wrong, doctors who went to medical school, done their stuff. Good for them, they learned what it took to be labeled as a doctor, and good for them. But I see a lot of the humanity taken away from that. I feel like a lot of it is replaced with, well, don't get me wrong, this could be useful as well. I feel like a lot of the way people approach things in terms of learning or anything, or in terms of especially from my experiences with doctors, it's very oh, okay, so by the book type of deal, and they disregard the outside opinions, if that makes sense. And that hurts, because it hurts when I go to somebody for help and the only parts they're interested in is the parts that they were taught, not really the other parts, which I feel like is kind of unique in my experience. It's kind of a unique experience, or it's kind of a unique thing for me, that a lot of people who go to medical school and a lot of people who went to college don't really have a lot of real life experience. A lot of people who go to school and stuff haven't worked a fast food job, haven't seen how people use other people, and they're gonna see that eventually if they go and work in when they start working. But right now they're in the training camps, and I've been in and out. And don't get me wrong, I'm still not good with people using other people, using me, and just all that stuff. But I want to set myself up to be put in a position where I feel like I could benefit myself and also benefit others, um, that would be cool. That would be cool. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the only driving factor I have for going to school. Learning is fun. Learning is actually a fun thing to do. Um, the moment when you understand something, it's a very rewarding feeling. Um, and sharing that knowledge with other people is fun. That's a challenge in and of itself. So it can be fun. And I feel bad for the kids who are going to grow up in the future and have the same thing that happened with me happen with them. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. All right, guys. Well, if you guys found this video helpful or whatever, maybe I'll do another, conversation video another time. But that's it from me, and see you guys another time, all right?